So hello everybody, this is Bhante Joe here, and I'm just here near the Gilan Hala at Badeka Vihari, near the main monastery. This is just down a little side road, and there used to be an old kuti here, and this is on the platform for the meditation path. And so I thought to record a short Dhamma discussion for the internet. So I thought that maybe you could start with just a little meditation, so maybe you can lean forward a little bit and arch the spine, and look about 3 feet in front. And close our eyes. And can focus in on the breath. Can know when it's coming in. And know when it's going out. If we breathe in a long breath, can just know I'm breathing in a long breath. And if we breathe in a short breath, can just know I'm breathing in a short breath. And can focus in on the breath at the tip of the nose. And if notice any patterns of tension or tightness around the nose or the face, can just let those relax. And can relax any tension around the shoulders, the torso, the arms. And one can relax tension around the legs, around the feet. And one can practice breathing in and out from one's whole body. And when breathing in and out from the whole body, can be helpful to change one's perception of the breath, so that it's not just air that one is pulling in and out of the lungs, but it's a kind of energy that's all around and coursing through one's body. And it's possible to pull it into and out of every pore in the body. Almost like the body was a big sponge. So on the in-breath, one can think whole body. On the out-breath, one can think whole body. And before we finish meditating, can spread thoughts of goodwill, wishing may all beings all around everywhere be happy and at ease. May they put in place the causes necessary to be happy and at ease. And we can make the mind infinite can make it unbounded all the way to the ends of the universe and beyond, in every dimension. May all beings all around everywhere be happy and at ease. Okay, and can open our eyes and do a short reflection on the Dhamma. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Dhammāṃ saranang gacchāmi, Sanghaṃ saranang gacchāmi. Dutiyampi Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Dhammāṃ saranang gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Sanghaṃ saranang gacchāmi. Tatiyampi Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Dhammāṃ saranang gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Sanghaṃ saranang gacchāmi. So hope that everybody's having a great day, wherever it might be. And yeah, it's now's the rainy season in Sri Lanka. So often about this time, maybe not too long, there's some pretty impressive rain that sometimes comes. So I'm hoping that be able to, I think it's petering out towards the end, but may or may not come today in the next hour or two. So I was asked a question by suttas.com. I'd written to them, see if they had any questions a while back, and they sent back 4. And one of them was in the 4 foundations of mindfulness, there's kind of mental objects. And it says, what are we specifically supposed to contemplate on when contemplating on mental objects? Is this kind of contemplating on the Dhamma? And in the 4 foundations of mindfulness, those mental objects, I think it gives 5 or 6 of them, at least in Digha Nikaya 22. I think there might be, there's the 5 aggregates, the 6 sense spaces, 7 factors for awakening, the 4 noble truths, and I can't remember, some other, I think there's another one too. But in any event, these, the thing about the Satipatthana Sutta is that it really goes into a lot of detail. There was one monk who described it as one of the Buddha's complete teachings. I mean, basically, pretty much everything is there in the suttas. And in these kind of, these mental objects, some of them overlap with the other ones. So in the 4 Satipatthanas, you've got the body, you've got feelings, you've got the mind, and you've got mental objects. So I mean, here in the mental objects, there's the 5 hindrances too. So here in the mental objects, if there's the 5 aggregates, then so I think the 5 aggregates are there. I have to double check that one. But in any event, if there's kind of, say the 7 enlightenment factors, the 7 factors for enlightenment, one of those factors is samadhi, and then samadhi is already there as well in the mind element. And then if one is contemplating on the hindrances, one of the factors for the 5 hindrances is sensual desire. And sensual desire is always bound up with one's body, which is the kaya element. Whoa! So, some wind here is dropping some branches, so hopefully that one didn't get me, but we'll see how I think I should be all right. So so with these kind of things, the thing about them is that the Buddhist teachings, they all tend to kind of interpenetrate. So one starts from one avenue and it kind of takes one into the rest of the avenues. So as far as like how one is supposed to contemplate on these objects, the 5 internal and external, or the 5, all these different mind objects, like the 5 hindrances, 7 factors for awakening, 6 internal and external sense bases. And I think the 5 aggregates are there too. I'm not 100% sure. But in any event, how one's supposed to contemplate on them is basically, if one wants to use the Satipatthanas, this particular sutta as a framework, then one can take them up in a number of different ways. One can take them up to see if it's the 5 hindrances, or these present in me or not? And this starts to blend in with the contemplation of the mind factor, because here one knows if one's mind's scattered or not scattered, has ill will or not. And this basically gets right in there to the factors that are present in the 5 hindrances. Is there, it's kind of, you got sensual, if somebody has sensuality, if they have ill will, if they have restlessness and remorse, if they have sloth and torpor, if they have doubt or uncertainty. This kind of, when one starts to contemplate these things, one's already kind of into contemplating the mind to see if they're present in the mind. So the Satipatthana Sutta, it provides a kind of particular framework that one can approach these things. And it says that one should, in general, when approaching these things, one should do so ardent, alert, and mindful. And again, mindfulness is actually a factor in the 7 factors for awakening. So what one wants to do is to, basically, if one takes up one of these topics for contemplation, if it's the hindrances, one wants to see if they're present and then try to eliminate them. And in doing so, this is where ardency comes in, one trying to get better at planing down one's bad habits. And then that starts to link into these other mind objects as well. Starts to link into effort under the factors for enlightenment. Starts to link into kind of investigation of dhammas, because one has to kind of tend to know what these bad qualities are that one's trying to eliminate in one's mind. But one of the main things about the Buddha's teachings is it doesn't have to become too intellectual of an exercise. In other words, it can be useful. I mean, he lists these here as mind objects to contemplate. But when one starts to contemplate them, one starts to go into the other factors kind of right away. It's kind of, if one is contemplating sensual desire, whether or not it's in one's mind, it automatically starts to get bound up with kind of contemplation of the body. Because to eliminate sensual desire, this is one of the main ways that people do it, through contemplation of the body. So in terms of how to take them up, whatever set, basically the way that a lot of teachers teach, which I like quite a great deal, is that the Buddha taught all these different means, and he was teaching people with different characteristics and different temperaments. And so basically what one might tend to find as one goes through in one's studies or in one's practice is that there's certain topics that really kind of gel. If one really feels like, when I'm contemplating these 5 hindrances, when I'm seeing if they're present in me, when I'm trying to eliminate them, this is something my mind kind of launches out to and I get really interested in, then that's a good kind of topic for one to take up. One takes that topic up, one learns what those 5 hindrances are, one uses that as a frame of reference. This is kind of what Satipatthana means. In other words, one's mind, just using these 5 hindrances as an example, going through one's day when one's practicing meditation is, well, wait a minute, is this here or not? Is ill will here or not? Is restlessness here or not? How do I eliminate these things? When one does this is when one starts to develop the Satipatthana as ardent, alert, and mindful. And I can't remember, there's 2 other stages in there. I can't totally remember everything that goes through in that sutta. But one starts to develop them ardent, alert, and mindful. One learns to know if they're there in and of themselves. And one learns to kind of basically see the kind of stress arising and passing away when one learns to contemplate these things, kind of step back. So there's kind of all these various levels in which one can contemplate them. And the Buddha gives this as like a very thorough, that's actually, when one starts to kind of delve into it, it kind of covers pretty much everything in the practice, kind of the Satipatthanas. You can do it ardently, kind of trying to get a little bit better at it, trying to get better at eliminating sensual desire, trying to get better at noticing when it arises. There's also times when it's useful just to know whether there's sensual desire there or not, to know the extent to that these qualities are there or not. And then there's also times when it's useful to discern kind of the arising and passing away, just of stress or of these things in and of themselves, to see these qualities as arising and passing away for the sake of developing disenchantment. But all this can get really complicated when one tries to take it on as an intellectual perspective. So instead, what one can do is take up any of these sets, if one feels this kind of affinity, and take it up as one's frame of reference. So one goes through the day, and one tries to, if it's the 5 hindrances, just as an example, tries to consistently eliminate these hindrances in one's own life, tries to consistently see when they're present, see how they arise, and see how they fall away, and get better at making them fall away. And in doing so, these become a frame that one learns to view the world through. And of course, when one tries to eliminate sensual desire, eliminate ill will, eliminate sloth and torpor, eliminate restlessness, eliminate doubt, those are all entrances into all the rest of the Buddha's path, all the rest of the Buddha's teachings. So it's in this way that one doesn't really need to think about, say, contemplation of mind objects in the Satipatthana Sutta as necessarily being like this really discrete entity that is really separate from the contemplation of the mind or the contemplation of feelings or the contemplation of the body. Almost any one of these factors will take one into, seemingly, pretty much all the rest. Kind of, almost any one of these sets, they kind of interlink with a lot of the other a lot of the rest of the Buddhist teachings. If one wants to eliminate restlessness, this is one of the last fetters that one eliminates before arahantship. So to get there, one has to kind of take on the rest of the Buddha's path. One wants to eliminate doubt. That's what one eliminates at stream entry, basically doubt in the Buddha. So to get there, one has to become a stream enter. One wants to eliminate the 5 hindrances and really kind of get them down. Then one has to master concentration. To get there, one has to be a non-returner. So in other words, these various things, they kind of all link in. So really to take one of these topics on starts to branch out into the others. So for this reason, practically speaking, the Buddhist teachings are really quite genius. I mean, as a scholar, if one wants to take them on from a scholarly perspective, it seems like there's a lot of maybe gaps. Wait a minute, here we have the 5 hindrances listed along with the 7 factors of enlightenment. The 5 hindrances are aimed at concentration. Concentration is one of the 7 factors of enlightenment. And also, craving is there in the 4 Noble Truths as a mental object, and sensual desire is there in the 5 hindrances. So it kind of seems like, oh, wait a minute, there's all these things that are kind of jumbled together. But when one takes on the Buddhist teachings basically as a tool for the elimination of suffering, then his path can become much more clear. It's like a path that you can enter from many different angles, but that once one enters it, leads one onwards to the other aspects of the path. So it's like one enters from the left-hand side, inevitably one also has to kind of go towards the center, maybe, and these various things. So, it's not just like one enters at the left-hand side and stays there. These various things kind of link up. They kind of join together. It's like if you were a kind of child wanting to draw a picture of a human being, you start at the hands, but eventually you have to go through and draw the legs, draw the arms, draw the head. Start at the head, you have to go through and draw the rest of the body too if you want to draw the whole body. And in the same way, one can start with the contemplation of these 5 hindrances, of the 6 sense bases, of the 7 factors of awakening, but taking them on, making them one's frame of reference, it tends to penetrate into the rest of the Buddhist path. And so that one doesn't have to worry so much about exactly the right way to do it. If one's defilements are going down, one's skillful qualities are going up, then one knows that one is doing it correctly. If one is developing in sila, developing in samadhi, developing in panya, one knows that one's doing it correctly. If one is seeing one's attachments start to fall away, then one knows that one's doing it correctly. And of course, if one succeeds in kind of breaking through to one of the noble attainments, then one definitely knows that one's done it correctly. Because all these various angles through which one can enter the Dhamma, they have this kind of unified road. They all lead to Nibbana. Just like, somebody wanted to go to the CN Tower, there's all these different places you can enter Toronto from to go there. But if you take the roads to the CN Tower, they all lead to that spot. So whatever topic one feels an affinity with, one can take that one up for contemplation. Whatever one of these mental objects, one can take that up, make it one's basis, and make it one's road. Make it one's road to the noble attainments, and make it one's road to Nibbana. Okay, so leave that for reflection, and hope that everybody has a great day, and wishing you all the best till next time.